why did we stop listening? And I don't just mean hearing someone speak above the noise of your notifications or deciphering words in between distracted glances while watching Netflix. I mean truly listening. Listening to the sigh that says, I'm carrying something heavy right now. To the hesitation that whispers, I'm unsure if I belong here. To the silences where someone gave up mid-thought because, what's the point right now? Well, somewhere along the line, a lot of us stopped truly leaning in. Not because we're mean-spirited people and not because we stopped caring. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. I think it's actually because life taught us it's quicker to assume, safer to deflect away, and easier to shut down than to stay present. Here's the truth, though, that I've come to realize both in my clinical and personal world. When we stop listening, there's a cost. And it's an emotional cost, it's a psychological cost, and a relational cost. Hey, welcome back to the Voyage cast. I'm Eddie, as always, and today we're tackling a question that might hit a little close to home for some of you, and certainly for a few of our Facebook followers. The title of this episode is, Why Did We Stop Listening? And that is the issue that seems to be hitting everybody's home. It's a simple question on the surface, but when you really think about it, the answer goes so deep, doesn't it? Like awkwardly, weirdly deep into the emotional, the psychological, and relational toll of tuning out the people we actually care about the most. Well, why do we do that, though? Well, I often think about it this way. You walk down the aisle, you're about to get married. You think to yourself, man, I love this person. I respect this person. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. I want to have children with this person. And I'm going to suddenly, out of the blue, no longer respect or value anything they have to say, think, or believe. That's super weird that we do that. We don't do that initially. That's not our intention. Now, I'm sure some of you might be nodding along because this is messy, isn't it? And we develop these weird little habits. And the goal of this episode is to figure out kind of how to identify these things and where they come from, and maybe to develop a few strategies to help us walk away from these bad habits of not listening to your partner anymore. All right, well, let's dive into it. The hidden weight of not listening. Here's the part most of us don't realize. Listening isn't just a nice skill set we developed. It's not just about good communication to satisfy or pacify your partner. Listening is much deeper than that. It's actually a nervous system regulator, of all things. When someone listens to you, not just to respond, not just to, quote, solve it, or dismiss you, which many do, but deeply listen to you, something in your body changes. Your nervous system starts to say something like, I'm safe, I'm home, I can exhale. This idea is foundational in emotionally focused therapy because it's foundational to the attunement as the core of our secure bonding. Because if listening disappears, connection usually follows. If you don't believe me, think about it for a moment. How many couples just drift apart? Not in a fiery, burning mess, but in the quiet of growing silence. They don't explode, do they? They erode over time. You see, by nature, being unheard, it hurts almost like a physical experience. It's like solitary emotional confinement. And when the hurt we feel cannot find a landing place, when it feels like there's no space to hold it, no refuge for vulnerability, we do what humans are wired to do. We protect ourselves. We stop risking honestly. We shrink. We share just enough, but never the deeper stuff. We might even think that we're being vulnerable, but we, over time, almost forget what vulnerability even looks like. Why would we trust anybody if the message we take away is, what's the point? Or we don't really matter, or what I have to say isn't worth anybody's time. But here's the deal. Most of us don't even realize we're doing this. The truth is, most of us were never shown how to listen properly. Instead, we grew up in a culture that taught us how to, quote, win arguments or defend our position or fix problems immediately, or worse, Stay silent and keep the peace. Never go into conflict. Because conflict might offend somebody, and you know what? You are not allowed to offend anybody. I hope this sounds familiar because I see this all the time. I've even seen it like on the news, which is mind-blowing to me. What's even deeper is that these habits aren't just practices, they're survival mechanisms woven into the fabric of our earliest experiences. They stem from old attachment wounds, the subtle and not so subtle messages we internalized growing up, and whether it was safe to express any kind of emotion or feeling at all, about whether vulnerability would be met with kindness or rejection. All right, let's talk about what's blocking us from listening and a little bit of the science behind why listening can feel so hard when emotions run high. So, when someone you care about says something emotional, your brain doesn't just hear the words, it's scanning for threats. This process, called emotional encoding, links tone, facial expression, or even the moment that something was said with prior emotional experiences. That's why certain phrases like, "I just need space," can feel heavy or like abandonment. Not because the phrase itself is hostile, but because our nervous system remembers the pain associated with those words from something long ago. Like somebody might have said, "I need space," and then just left and never came back. Maybe they got the milk. I don't know. And here's the thing, even if you want to listen, like your heart's desire is to really hear that person, you may not be doing it when you're in a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And this is or can be completely autonomic based on how we're interpreting this information. Your brain isn't built to process vulnerability and conflict. It's built to protect you when there's conflict. That's not a dysfunction or a pathology necessarily. It's your physiology jumping in to protect you. And one of the things I do when I'm working with my couples is I help them try to differentiate between purposeful reactions versus automatic reactions. Because when you're interpreting those reactions, you might take those things way too personally. And they may have nothing to do with you. It might be entirely about that other person. And the good news is we're not stuck in this cycle. It may feel automatic, and it might actually be automatic at times, but we really can learn to retrain our brain, relearn to listen differently. That's good news. We can learn to retrain our patterns, choose connection over protection, and intentionally create kind of these spaces and these pockets of safety in our marriage or in our closest relationships, and especially in those moments where it matters most, those moments where we're getting so triggered and all we really need is an open ear. We need that containment. We need that tender, loving touch. So the next part of this is how to relearn the art of listening. So if you are feeling stuck in these spirals of misunderstanding or misconceptions or connections, try these tools. Now, these tools aren't exhaustive. They're not definitive. They are some tools to help you. And I use a lot of these tools in various ways with a lot of my couples in real time. So I do find that they can work, but they will require you to be a bit maybe creative or just trying them in different ways when you're learning to apply these things. So the first one is naming your defenses. Ask yourself, am I jumping in to fix things too quickly? Am I shutting down? Am I getting overly sarcastic? You see, this awareness can disrupt that auto response. So really start here, and I'm going to add a piece to this that I use in real time and I coach my clients and couples through, is to actually say it out loud. Like if you're starting to get defensive, just say, "Hey, I think I'm getting defensive and I'm being an idiot and I don't think I'm available right now and I need 5 minutes and then we'll talk in 5 minutes," or something like that. Or I'm starting to shut down, or I notice that I'm getting sarcastic because you're starting to roll your eyes at me, or whatever it is. Say it out loud, name it, say it out loud. Number 2, regulate before responding. Take 3 minutes at minimum to pause before saying anything. Sometimes those 3 minutes are all it takes to shift from a defensive reactionary state, like we were kind of referring to in number 1, to a healing one, or at least one that's not instigating the hell out of everything.
Number 3.
Reflect, don't rebut. When the other person shares, try repeating back what you heard, like a classic listener-speaker kind of scenario. For example, you hear something and then your response might be something like, so what I'm hearing is, does this feel accurate? So what I'm hearing is, you're feeling lonely and afraid, or you're upset because you felt abandoned when I went to the store and got milk. And so does that feel accurate? I mean, I'm here now. I didn't leave forever. But I hope that makes sense. I'm being a little sarcastic, but I hope that makes sense. This ensures that at least you're understanding and not just responding. You're repeating back what it is you're hearing. But you want to stay away from repeating back like, so what I hear is that you're being a bitch and blah, blah, blah. You know, like don't do that. That just instigates and throws gasoline on the fire.
Roger that.
Okay, number 4, validate what's real. Validation is not agreement. I feel like I need to say that 1,000 times. I'll say it one more, though. Validation is not agreement. You're not agreeing with anything if you're validating somebody's experience. It's saying to them, your experience matters, even if my experience is different. Even if my thoughts and feelings and everything is different, you tell me what you have to say because that matters to me. And that communicates to them a really clear message that they matter to you, kind of point blank, that what they have to say is important. It doesn't mean it dictates the nature of all reality. It simply means that their experience of reality has some merit. 5, stay curious. Ask gently what's going on underneath this, not as a challenge, but as an invitation for additional conversation. What I'm hearing is, maybe you go to number 1 or 2 and you name it, and then you want to reflect and you want to say, hey, what I'm hearing is ... and is that right? Like, try to identify those emotions. That's really what you're wanting to get to, those primary emotional experiences, and speaking to that. And if you stay curious, you can do that. They feel even more understood and heard because you're not staying in the secondary reactionary responses, which is all the rebuttals and the nonsense. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I want to emphasize this too. You don't have to listen perfectly to restore any kind of connection. That's not required. You just have to attempt to listen. You have to stay present. You have to grow and develop, of course, and get better over time, but I expect it to be totally messy. I expect you not to have the right words, and you should expect these things of yourself too. Especially when it's uncomfortable, you're not going to get this right. Honest listening does not require the perfect response. Remember that. Honest listening does not require perfect response patterns. It requires an open heart, and listening is like an action of love, right? But it's just with your closed mouth, which probably should happen more often than not. I know I'm a big talker, so I need to shut up a lot too.
That's right.
This episode is brought to you by Voyage's Counseling, the mothership of the Voyage cast. Life has its ups and downs, and sometimes we all need a little help navigating the tricky parts. And that's where Voyage's Counseling comes in. Our team of licensed therapists are here to provide support and guidance, helping you to gain clarity and confidence as you move forward. Whether you're working through challenges, improving your relationships, or focusing on your personal growth, Voyage's Counseling offers care that's tailored to you. We're committed to making sure every step you take feels meaningful and manageable. And if you're ready to take that step, visit voyagescounseling.com to learn more or book your first session. You don't have to go it alone. And, by the way, we do take most major insurances. Okay, let's get into a path toward connection. If you're in a relationship where conversations are starting to feel really hard or harder than they used to, where silence has grown louder than the connection, where you've stopped risking real honesty, you've started to shut down your voice, then the goal here isn't to just jump back into the way things used to be. It's to start small. One pause, one question, one step towards safety. Because silence doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can actually be the beginning of something brand new. Oftentimes, couples want to go back to how things used to be. But the truth is, that's impossible. You can never go back to how things used to be. Everything you've experienced has changed you, has molded you, and has done the same to your partner. So you guys have to grow into something new, which is beautiful and great. And that's part of the adventure of being in long-term committed relationships is the landscape of things change over time. And if we're open to those adventures, then we can develop a beautiful story that is uniquely ours. Okay, well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Voyage Cast. If this episode resonated with you in some kind of way, be sure to share it with a friend, partner, loved one, hated enemy. Leave a 5-star review. Like I mentioned every time, those algorithm overlords really do need that for us to get any kind of traction, and I appreciate you guys sharing that with your friends and family. Also, if you want to take the next step and support us to help us create more of this content because you find value in it, please support us. It's fairly cheap with Patreon. You can do that. That does make a difference. One last thing, if you want the full article of this episode, also check out our blog. There's other articles there too. All those links will be in the show notes, as well as any other links in any other episodes to different books or resources or whatever we're recommending during those episodes. Do check out those show notes. They might be useful for you.